you're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And by the way, President Trump got the endorsement of the Border Patrol Union. Not a surprise, I guess, but it is a surprise because they don't usually endorse anybody. But it's pretty clear who has been supportive of the men and women that are on the front lines. And joining us now is the president of the Border Patrol Union, who represents the agents there, Paul Perez. Paul, you were there when the big announcement came down. Why was it very clear for you that President Trump was the one that you guys and your fellow men and women on the front lines that are doing the tough work are supporting?
Yes, ma'am. Glad to be here with you. So it was an obvious choice for us because myself, I've served for 27 years under 5 different administrations, and I can tell you that President Trump is the only president in our nation's history that has taken it serious enough to actually close the border down. The policies he enacted really helped us, and this administration on day one, they undid everything that he did that proved to work. And so because of that, we have an untold number of illegal immigrants that have come across the country and have been committing crimes around this country and overtaking cities. So it was an obvious choice for us that we know he can do it and we know he'll do it again. So we absolutely had no qualms about endorsing Donald Trump for president again.
I mean, how bad you're down there with your men at the border. I mean, have we got a mess in our hands?
Oh, absolutely. It is worse than what people think. You know, we do a lot of congressional delegation visits, and we bring a lot of members of Congress down to the southern border. And when they see it for themselves, it's a very eye-opening experience because of the fact that you can watch it on TV, you can watch news clips, and you can hear about it and read about it. But until you see it with your own eyes, it is something else. It really, really allows them to go back onto the Hill and talk with their colleagues and explain to them how out of control this border is. So, yes, it is something to see down here.
You know, there was a news story that just came out, and everybody, we're talking to Paul Perez. He's head of the National Border Patrol Council, the big union that represents so many of these men and women. You know, there's a story that says that agents are threatening to leave in droves if Kamala Harris wins. Do you get the sense from them?
And Kamala Harris is praying for it.
Yeah, it's sadly. I mean, and they said blank, I'm not going to do this blank again, that they just feel she's undermining them, to John's point, so much.
Yeah, so under because of the hiring surges, under this administration, the agents have never been as frustrated because this is the absolute definition of an open border policy. Never have we ever allowed the millions of people that are unvetted to come across. And so they did a bait and switch. And so they're talking right now about how the numbers are low for Border Patrol. But what everybody needs to understand is what they did is they made it easier for the illegal immigrants to come in because now they're flying them in. They're processing them through the ports of entry and flying them in.
I understand. Was President Bill Clinton in Georgia yesterday? What did he say?
Oh, yeah.
Front page of the New York Post today.
Yeah, he came out and said, he talked about Laken Riley, the woman who was killed in Georgia, the nursing student, and said this never would have happened if people were getting better vetted, if there was better security at the border. You know, the next breath sounded like, well, you know, you're supporting Kamala Harris. Why? But it was interesting that even everybody is coming out and saying, yeah, there needs to be better security.
But the official line, well, it's Richard Weinberg. The official line is, if only the Republicans had passed the legislation that they're pushing, which, as you know, is pure nonsense because all the rules of the game were in place. They were all rescinded on day one by the Biden-Harris administration. They didn't need a law. They had all the authority they needed. And number two, if you had passed that law, Paul, you would have ratified all the illegal conduct by the Biden-Harris administration. What say you?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So first of all, Bill Clinton couldn't have made a better campaign ad for Donald Trump because what he said was absolutely true. And we didn't have that under President Trump. So those are the policies that we'll put back in place under President Trump. Second of all, there is a cap. There is a cap on visas that is vetted immigrants that are allowed to come across legally, legal immigration, which is something that Donald Trump supports. So if there is a cap on legal immigrants, why would we have unfettered access, no cap, on the amount of illegal immigrants that can come into this country? We don't need to have a policy or legislation that allows the cartels to dictate the terms of our border security, and that's exactly what it would do. So we absolutely need Trump to come in and put his policies back into place to end this madness once and for all.
Yeah, no question. And let's not forget that just the other day, Kamala Harris said she'd like to make everybody here who's here illegal legal. I mean, she's not masquerading what her goal is.
Well, thank you so much, Paul.